Hey y'all, I'm Derek and welcome back to You Won't Believe It, my 2 cents for the discount bin. It's been a while, so let me refresh everybody. This is a show where I go to the discount bin at the local video store, rummage around and see if I find something at random and tell you what I think about it. Now, this show has 3 simple rules. 1, I can't have seen the movie before. 2, the movie can't cost more than $10, and 3, it can't be a mainstream movie. It has to be either straight to DVD or it had to have a very limited run. Okay, so since it is October and it is spooky season, I've got my spooky hoodie on, I've got my spooky blanket, I'm on the comfy couch of horror. I decided let's do some discount bin horror films. And the discount bin did not disappoint. What do I see the first thing when I go to the discount bin? Zombex. The whole reason I got this was because Malcolm McDowell is on the cover. I love Malcolm McDowell. He's one of those actors that I love who's in everything, but you never really notice him unless you absolutely look for him. And so I'm looking forward to this. Let's put it in, see what we got. I thought it was supposed to be scary. So during the credits, we learned that the movie is set in New Orleans right after Hurricane Katrina. And I thought, okay, that's a good premise. It's New Orleans after a calamity and there's going to be zombies. That sounds really interesting. Maybe it's going to be a survivor movie. Also, I noticed that not only is Malcolm McDowell in this movie, but Corey Feldman and Sid Haig are both in this movie. So I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to be great. Then the movie happened. And I noticed that the movie is written and directed by Jesse Dayton. And first of all, that name sounded really familiar to me. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. But I've also mentioned before that writers have to be able to give their creations to someone else in order to take it into a direction that might actually work. So it starts off with an old married couple. The woman is making breakfast and she actually makes a really nice omelet. I mean, it was a very well-made omelet. You're at the breakfast table and the old guy takes his pills and he turns into a zombie. That sort of alleviates some of the tension. We know what caused the zombie outbreak. It was this medication. And there's blood all over the place. And oh my God, the blood is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. It is just what I think of when I think of B-grade blood, if you know what I mean. And during this whole thing, there's a guy talking on the radio, and the radio guy, his name's Aldous, and he is sort of like the InfoWars guy. Very conspiracy theory based. It's really weird. And then there's a guy who walks through the French Quarter and he blacks out and wakes up in a bar. And then we get his backstory. It turns out he's a musician who does this all the time, and he's going to be our lead. His name's Charlie. People before who are eating breakfast, the guy who turns into a zombie, he then eats his wife. And it keeps jumping in between these 2 scenes of the guy walking through NOLA and the breakfast couple, and it's just very incongruous because the guy's walking through the French Quarter at night, but it's breakfast time when this happened. Time displacement is not style, people. It's bad storytelling. Just saying. Well, it turns out that the people eating breakfast were actually Charlie's parents, and when he goes to the house to see his mother all eaten up, he's like, what happened? And he takes his father's pills because apparently Charlie is a junkie as well. So it turns out after Hurricane Katrina, this big pharma company decides to release free to the public a brand new antidepressant specifically indicated for PTSD that had not gone through FDA approval. And that drug is what's causing the outbreak. So now everyone who's taken this drug is turning into a zombie. So the CEO of the pharmaceutical company decides to hire a private security firm led by this woman and her girlfriend, we'll find that out later, to basically kill all the zombies. To try to hush things up, you know? And during this whole spiel, this is when we're introduced to Malcolm McDowell's character. And I just have to say, Malcolm McDowell is far too good of an actor to be in this movie. Oh well. So, Malcolm McDowell's character tells Aldous that there's a cure for the problem in Austin, Texas, but now New Orleans is a no-fly zone, so nobody can medevac it in. So Aldous decides he's going to go to Austin to pick up the antidepressant and bring it back to New Orleans to save all these people. And Charlie hears this over the radio because it's all been broadcast, so he decides he's going to help out. Yay, road trip. And also, this serum that's going to save everybody, it will also help anybody who has not yet turned cover as long as they get it within 72 hours. I want to remember that point, okay? The woman in charge of this security operation is feeling that the CEO is being a little bit of a douche, and he really is. There's a scene coming up that'll prove that even more. So she decides to amp-spray it out and go to Austin to pick up the serum. Along the way, Aldous and Charlie decide they're going to stop in Lafayette, and I just want to know why. It's not that far from New Orleans to Austin. I've done it before, and you know what? There's two of them. They both can drive. They can get there in one night. I'm just saying. But they decide to stop in Lafayette, which actually was a good thing because they run into security forces girl and her girlfriend along the way, and they stop in Lafayette and they hunker down at this bar that this friend of Charlie's owns, and they drink and dance, and yeah. And during this whole time, there's a gratuitous lesbian sex scene between the security ops girl and her girlfriend, being cut in between scenes of a drug dealer getting eaten by zombies. Because symbolism? I don't know. I feel like this movie had a good concept to begin with, but then it just got derailed by the director trying to be too artistic, if that makes sense. Because if it was simply, there was an outbreak of zombies in New Orleans, and so a group of people tried to head to Austin to save New Orleans, that makes sense. But then it just gets derailed with all this debauchery and weird stuff, and you're just like, what's going on? Okay, then after that, just to show how big of a bugger the CEO of the big pharma company is, there's actually a scene of him running out of his house, leaving his wife and child to die at the hands of zombies while he 32 skidoos. Well, the next morning, the girls head out before Charlie and Aldous because, and there's this huge tangent where the girls make a pit stop apparently to go to the bathroom. All they do is just kill more zombies. It's just padding, really. It's just basically gore porn, and I just want to point this out. Every single shot that the girl makes with an Uzi 9mm hits directly in the head, okay? Obviously, someone has never held an automatic weapon, because those things have aim worth crap. Well, they all stop at a stilt house right on the Louisiana-Texas border for the night. I forgot to mention this earlier. Charlie took one of his dad's pills earlier, one of the Zombex pills that turns people into Zambos. Serum should be able to help him if he gets the serum within 72 hours. So far, it's already been almost that. I'll just say that. Because he took it the night before he left, and so it's been about I want to say 50 hours since he took the pill. You would think he'd have more of a sense of urgency. Just saying. The security forces girl's girlfriend gets killed out of sheer stupidity. She thinks she hears something, so she goes outside, opens the door, looks around, sees nothing, so she walks back in and sighs. Doesn't close the door behind her, so she gets eaten. I'm sorry, that's survival of the fittest. Then we cut back to the CEO of the big pharma company, and he runs out of gas and he goes to a gas station, and he's so upset because it's a rural gas station that doesn't have a credit card reader. So he's like, I can't get the gas. And the zombies come by, so he just shoots himself in the head so he doesn't get eaten. Oh well. Good riddance to bad rubbish, I say. On the way through Texas the next day, they stop because Aldous has to take a leak, and there's a bunch of zombies around, so a security force girl decides to give herself up to the zombies because her girlfriend's dead. Oh, how sweet. So they end up going to an army base, and they get arrested because they have a lot of firepower on them. And we meet the commander of the base. And it's Sid Haig. Sid frickin' Haig. May he rest in peace. One of my favorite horror actors of all time. I remember him in Spider Baby, for God's sake. And once again, he's too good for this movie. Sid Haig tells them to explain everything. Well, instead of that happening, Charlie has a flashback of everything that's happened in this movie up until this point, and it turns out it's not even an explanation. He's just having a personal flashback because Sid Haig interrupts him and goes, "Are you okay?" "Sorry, it's just been a lot lately." And at this point, Malcolm McDowell's character returns with another doctor. And you know who the other doctor is? Corey freaking Feldman. I can't make this up, people. Turns out Zombex, the antidepressant, was a government test. So New Orleans was just basically given all this to see how they would react. So Aldous and Charlie are literally taken hostage and given a serum. So yeah, and then the movie... just ends. Like, what? So while the credits start rolling, they play this song called Transylvania Terror Train. And I know the song, I actually have it on my iPhone. I have the entire album. And then I remember where I've heard the name Jesse Dayton before. He's a rockabilly artist who's a friend of Rob Zombie. He did songs for The Devil's Rejects and Halloween 2. I was like, oh my God, that's how we got Malcolm McDowell and Sid Haig and Corey Feldman. That he obviously wanted to make a movie, and Rob Zombie helped him out. Okay, for the technicals. They're not good. They aren't. You can tell that, you can see the prosthetics that are used. You can see that the eye color change is because of colored contact lenses. And the camera work is just fun. It's really very much like, I am an auteur of cinema verite. Everything's very, very muted in color, which I understood as a stylistic point, but it just didn't make it vibrant enough, I guess. It didn't make it lifelike enough. It felt like the filter was getting in between the story. All in all, it wasn't a good movie. And it's not really that scary of a movie, so I wouldn't really recommend it for Halloween. There was a lot of potential. It just didn't go anywhere. It didn't pan out, and that makes me so sad. It's not like other movies that I've watched that were just like WTF moments where I had fun. Because honestly, the padding just really shorted out the story. It could have been like a 30-minute long Twilight Zone episode that was padded out to an hour and a half. And truth be told, the gore and the actual zombies didn't really pertain that much to the story. And it's a movie called Zombex about zombies, and the zombies really didn't fulfill the zombie need that zombie lovers like myself really need in our zombie films. Oh well, if you've seen this movie, drop me a note below and tell me what you thought about it. And yeah, that's my 2 cents for Zombex. So, thanks for stopping by, thanks for tuning in, and come back later for some more My 2 Cents for the Discount Bin.